Good morning, you guys. Day number 82 of my Staybatical 250, my 100-day journey, transforming this body, radically changing my mind, and pretty much watching whatever else happens. Good Monday morning to you. Hope you had a great weekend. As I have said many times before, I love my weekends. I get to rejuvenate, resuscitate from the week. And this week is Thanksgiving week, so we got kind of a shortened week here. I'm actually winding down my podcast recording schedule and airing schedule. I've got a couple of podcasts that I'm recording early in the week, so today, and then again another one tomorrow. And so then I'm done for the rest of the year recording podcasts. And then my last podcast that will air will be the Livin' La Vida Low Carb show on Wednesday. So I've got One Step Deeper podcast airing today. Go check that out. And then Livin' La Vida Low Carb show tomorrow and Wednesday. And then Thursday, of course, is the holiday. And I'm taking off the rest of the year from my podcasts. I'm currently writing on a book. And I want to finish up the manuscript of that book. Get her done, as they say, so that I can come back in January of 2022 really strong. Now, I'll keep coming on here doing the walk and talk, so don't think that I'm going away. By no means am I going away. I still have a good number of days left, enough days left in this to not go away. Let's put it that way. So yeah, 82 today is the number. So rocking and rolling. Rocking and rolling. So I hope you guys are having a great day so far. I wanted to talk to you about a really important topic, as I always do. And let's see what you think about this one. So, over the weekend, you might have seen me post a video of getting into my Morosco Forge ice bath tank thing. It was 33 degrees. And I had so many people watch that video where I'm not happy for the first 30 seconds of getting in there because it's intense, throwing ice at the camera and all the things. And so a lot of people in the comment section of the various social media where I posted that went, "Oh man, I could never do that. That's too much. That's impossible. I could never do that." And so it kind of inspired this topic today of do what you think is impossible. Now, on the topic of the ice tank, let me build up to it a little bit. You don't just jump into 33 degree temperature water the first time you ever do cold therapy. That would be ridiculous. Just like you don't put a toddler out on a football field with a bunch of NFL players to try to play running back. You get demolished, right? And as with anything that we think is impossible, you have to build up to it. And so for me with the ice stuff, I've been doing cold showers, started off with that. First of all, it was warm. I used to like really hot showers. And so then I just put it down to warm and just get acclimated to that. And I did that for a period of time. And then I got a little cooler until I could go all the way down on the cold shower and it not be overwhelming. So that's how I started. And then from there, I was like, okay, I got a bathtub. Let's plug it up, fill it up with water, and then dump a bag of ice in there. And I started getting acclimated to even colder. And so I've done this over a period of time to acclimate. And of course, I walk out here. It's not cold today, but tomorrow it's supposed to be 28 degrees at this time in the morning. So we gonna test how much Jimmy's tolerance to cold really is tomorrow, because I will wear a short and t-shirt and be out here walking in 28 degree weather. That's gonna be fun to watch. So don't miss tomorrow. But the point is, I built up all of that so that now I have this really nice tank where I can get into super cold water, 33 degree water. And while it's, yes, shocking to the system, I'm able to tolerate it more. Now, all these people that said, "Oh, that's impossible, I could never," you only look at it from the prism of where you are right this moment. If you've never done any cold thermogenesis, then yeah, it looks impossible. Look at the people who say that about keto. Oh, I could never go on a keto diet, a low carb diet. And then you inquire why. Well, I'll miss bread. I'll miss sugar. Well, they're only looking at it from their current state of where they are. And you're right. From that state you're in right now as a heavily sugar addicted, carb addicted person, you're right. It is impossible for you to just jump right to where someone who's eaten this way for a long period of time currently is. And I think the lesson here is anything that you deem as impossible, you have to reframe that as it's not possible yet. I think impossible is kind of this finality. People hear the word impossible, they speak it, and there's a permanence to it as if it'll never happen. There's just no possible way. Thus the word impossible. But not happened yet. Not possible yet. It puts a new spin on it, doesn't it? It allows that opportunity to, while I can't accomplish that thing right now, I sure will pursue it. I sure will go after it. Like me with the ice water. I acclimated myself to colder and colder so that now getting into 33 degree water, yes, a challenge, but no, not impossible. And so we should be doing what we think is impossible, but doing it in the right order, in the right steps. Allowing yourself to build up to things. And again, back to the toddler playing running back in the NFL. No, can't do that. But that toddler sure can get good as they continue to grow. Good at the skills, playing a peewee football, and move up from there into the school system, and then go to college. And maybe at that point, they have built up that ability. It's not yet possible when they're younger, but then it becomes a possibility as they get older. And that applies to all of us. Think about this for a moment. Think about the things in your life that you deem as impossible, and don't be preposterous about it. Make it somewhat believable of something you could do, but you feel it's impossible. All right? Think about that. You got it? You got your impossible? Now, imagine what it would take to make that impossible a possible. Where would you start? Would you start going right at the thing? Oh, I got to do all the things right away and be right there? No. You would start training your body to inch in that direction. And that's all I'm talking about here with do what you think is impossible. Work in the direction of what is possible so that day by day, little by little, that impossible starts to become possible. When I first started online, I never thought it was possible that I would be a successful podcaster. I had no background in that. I had no abilities that show I could be good at that. It was impossible in 2006 when I was approached to start a podcast. It was impossible in my mind because it was unfamiliar. It was not something I'd done before. I had no training in it. Who am I to think that I can do this thing that I'm not equipped to do? And so at that point, it seemed like an impossibility. And yet look at me now, 15, 16 years later. Is it possible for Jimmy to do a podcast? Yeah. Not just a podcast. I've done over a dozen podcasts, 3 active ones, and soon to be 4 with this walk and talk we're going to be doing possibly. So, but what seemed impossible at one point now has become possible. How? Think this through, guys. How did it happen? In this case with the podcasting, I just started it. I followed my passion. I allowed my voice to be heard. And while at first it was clunky, at first I was so nervous interviewing people, I needed to get better and better, and I did. Until the point that, okay, now I'm there. Now I'm able to do the things that once seemed impossible. And now they're not only very possible, now I'm helping mentor other people to do their own podcasts. You see how that works? So it all started with doing those things that you think are impossible in your life. You can't really progress the way you want to progress in your life until you're willing to take a step of faith towards those things that are impossible. For those of you that are Christian, there's a big saying in the Christian world, with God, all things are possible. And I believe that. In fact, there's a great song called All Things Are Possible by Hillsong. Go look it up. It will get you moving in this. So if you're just joining in, welcome, welcome. Day number 82 of my Stay-Batical 250. Am I doing that right? I think it's day 83, actually. I'm losing track of time. I think it's day 83 now that I'm thinking about it. I said 82 earlier. Oops, I did it again. Yes, day 83 of my Stay-Batical 250. 100 days I've been on this journey, or it's a 100-day journey. Been on it 83 days, seeking to transform my body, my mind, doing a series of biohacks, eating carnivore, fasting every other day. It's been really cool, you guys. And one of my favorite parts of this journey has been talking to you, sharing thoughts and ideas about subjects of mindset. And today I think I got a good one. So chime in with your thoughts on this idea of doing what you think is impossible. Do you go after those impossible things in your life? Or have you fooled yourself into thinking it's impossible? So Jimmy, why would I pursue it? It's impossible, which is defined as not possible. And I think we live lives of limiting beliefs. And you have to ask yourself, where do those limiting beliefs come from? Why do you feel like you're not capable, that it's not possible to have these things that you want? Think that through. Go into your mind deeply. It's what I like to do, is get you to think deeper about things. If you think there are impossible things that you want to accomplish, will you ever even try if you think they are impossible? No. Which is why not yet possible is a much better way to describe those things that we currently think of as impossible. So let's hear what you guys have to say. I've got a lot more thoughts on this, but I definitely want to hear what you have to say so I can bounce ideas. So please participate. It's a lot more fun when you guys write your comments. So let me go back to the top. Good morning, Sharon. Thank you for being here. Hello, Keto to Carnivore Mama. Thank you guys for always being here in place, supporting my walk and talk in the mornings. Linda says, good morning, finally able to walk outside again. Yay. Yeah, it's like low 50s today. It was raining all night long, so it's very wet out here. And it's going to be overcast, cloudy all day, but 50 degrees. Tomorrow, it's going to be half of that. It's going to be in the upper 20s. Whew. We'll test how good Jimmy's tolerance to cold is tomorrow. Bulletproof coconut, go Jimmy. I see books, microphone, and cheese. Is that for me writing books, talking behind the microphone, and eating cheese? I like it. You never cease to amaze me how you keep it going. Sharon says, wowzer, at number 82. Yeah, it's actually 83. I messed up at the beginning. Look, I'm so deep into this. I guess I want it to linger longer going backwards with the numbers. But yes, day 83 today for sure. You are ketovore, so inspired. I'm into strict carnivore 26 days. That's awesome. get it, girl. I know you feel great. There's just something about like really applying yourself to something for that long. Good morning, ladies. Berkeley says, do those 33-degree temperatures damage the skin? No. If anything, it helps to activate some things within the skin. Now, yesterday I posted, after being in the 33-degree water for about 2.5 minutes, I posted pictures on my story, if you want to go look on Instagram, of these blotches that developed on the inside of my biceps on both of my arms, and then all over my stomach. I had these little rash blotches. And so I posted what that is. Go look at my stories. It's definitely a detoxification thing. Because it kind of freaked me out when I first saw that. I'm like, what in the world? And so I talked to a couple of medical friends of mine, as well as the Morozco Forge people with the ice bath. And so they described what it is. What was funny, Morozco Forge, they don't really know who I am. And so they were like, well, you must eat a bad diet for that to happen. I'm like, I eat carnivore. I eat high quality grass-fed beef, pastured pork, backyard chicken eggs. I don't eat bad. So they said, well, it just could be an underlying like healing that's taking place. So I'm not worried about it. They did say that it's usually painful, and I have had no pain from it at all. This morning I still have a few faint little rashes on my stomach, but the arms have pretty much disappeared. But I'll keep an eye on it. Look, it means something is happening in my body. But to answer your question, Berkeley, no, it's not supposed to harm your skin, but you're only in there a couple minutes. So that's the key. Impossible is a state of mind, says Bulletproof Coconut. It really is. As with everything I talk about, all of these things that we believe and embrace as truisms, it's just what our mind tells us. Just because it pops in your mind does not make it a factual statement. If you think something is impossible, it's only because you've put that limitation on it. I think people would be shocked by how many things they think are impossible if they simply pursued them. And look, if something is a passion of yours that you want with all of your heart, and again, don't be pedantic on this. I can't become an NBA basketball player, Jimmy. No, you can't. But could you get good at playing basketball? Yes, you could. If you put in the effort working on your skill set. So anything is impossible or possible, even those things we think that are impossible. And I believe that with all my heart. I didn't get to be the success I've been in business and at what I do because I thought things were impossible. All impossible does is paralyze you into inaction. If you think something's not even a plausibility of happening, why would you even pursue time and effort towards that thing? And the answer is you wouldn't. And so if you would not chase after something, then it becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy of that impossible actually is impossible. Whereas if you just took that same scenario and said, okay, it's seemingly impossible, it's just not yet possible. Let me put in the effort. Let me put in the sweat equity. Let me pursue this thing. And then someday I'll be able to do that thing that I thought at one time was impossible. See how that works, guys? It's not this inevitability that we make out in our minds. Not even close. Lou says everything is always possible. Trusting in yourself is the key. Yes, believing in yourself, in your abilities. I have people come to me all the time wanting me to help them with book writing, podcasting, starting a brand, blah, blah, blah. And every time I talk to one of these people, I almost invariably hear something along the lines of, I can't. That's too much. I'm not able. So it's all these impossible kind of feelings that they're expressing. And I always stop them and I go, nope, that right there needs to change. I'm not good enough. Okay, you need to start telling yourself you are good enough. Well, I don't have the following to get people to listen to my podcast. Okay, you will. If you put out good content, people will want to follow you, but you got to be patient with it. Well, I just don't feel like I'm talented enough to do the things that I want to do. Okay, well, get talented, get better, practice your skill. I tell people I'm really glad that I started podcasting when nobody was listening to podcasts. So 2006 was when I became a podcaster for the first time. And I had no experience at all other than the little bit of Christian radio in the 90s, but that doesn't count because I was talking and interviewing and all these things. I wasn't great when I started. I was very clunky, but I got good at it because I kept pursuing it, kept wanting to be better and better, kept listening back and going, okay, I see where I messed up. Let's do it better the next time. And then better and better and better to the point now, I don't even think about podcasting. I just go on the camera and go. Even when I'm interviewing other people's shows, they're like, let me send you the questions. I'm like, not only don't send me questions, I double dog dare you to ask me something I've never been asked, and I want you to purposely try to throw me off. That's where I'm at now, because I'm so comfortable talking on the air. I don't need prepping, and I don't say this to brag. It's just, I've gotten good at it, and I'm comfortable with it. And a lot of people are, oh, I could never do that. That's impossible. It's possible if you put in the effort and trust in yourself, like Glue said. That's where I'm at. And I think anybody could get there. Keto-vorability, I love that name. Yes, go after everything because it's all possible. Yeah. And look, if we didn't believe that, if we didn't believe that anything at all is possible, where is the hope in life? Where is the innovation? Where is the pursuit of dreams? I know America's going through a really weird time right now with all that's going on, but I still believe strongly that America is the land of opportunity to be and do whatever you want. And it takes hard work, it takes effort, it takes persistence, it takes passion. It has a requirement for you to have deep desire within you to go until you get it. I'm never going to let anybody convince me otherwise, because it's true. You can be literally all that you want to be. In fact, the Army used to have that as their slogan. I don't know what's happened in America, but I haven't let it go. Kira says, I'm more open to believing I'm able to achieve the impossible now. Well, yeah. And Kira, that's because you have achieved things that a lot of people would think are impossible. You were able to overcome a lot of the health challenges despite the bad advice from your doctors, and you were able to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and heal yourself. And you're still doing that. By the way, guys, 1 p.m. today, 1 p.m. Eastern time, I will be interviewing Kira all about this topic. So come back to Instagram Live and watch live this interview with Kira. It will air on my podcast early in the new year. But excited to chat with you today, Kira. Bulletproof Coconut says, I have always kept a clear goal in mind, no matter how much I've struggled. I know it's possible and I will get there no matter what. Look, when you're pursuing impossible, you will struggle. Just know that ahead of time. People, when they run into struggle, oh, see, this is a sign. I shouldn't have even pursued. I'm struggling. And I'm like, struggling does not mean stop. Struggling means, okay, you're going to have to innovate. come up with ways to deal with it in the pursuit of this impossible. But it doesn't mean stop. It means, all right, maybe that's not the way I needed to go. Let's shift a little bit, or just get through a bumpy time and get on the other side of it. And then you're that one step closer to the impossible that you're trying to pursue. If you get nothing else out of this walk and talk today, I hope it's this, that when you do what you think is impossible, it's not about jumping to the end as quickly as possible. It's about pursuing one step at a time in the direction of that impossible. And when you get so close to that thing that you once thought was impossible, and then you're able to touch it and taste it and experience it for yourself, there is no greater feeling. Look, I knew I wanted to write when I was younger because I was really good at writing. Got all A's in English, and yes, I was the English nerd. But I never really imagined the success I would eventually get. I never did. It seemed impossible. What do you mean? International best-selling books. What? Like, why? Why would people? But a little bit of that was limiting belief in my ability. A little bit of that was just the imposter syndrome that inevitably pops up. But then I started writing books, and I was like, hey, I like this. This is fun. I feel like I was called to do this. I enjoy the process of it. And then when people started buying the books, I was like, whoa, okay, all right. And then when I had a little bit of success, it made me want to go after more impossible. Could I do it again? And Keto Clarity came along, did well. Ketogenic Cookbook came along next after that, did well. Both of those hit bestseller status. The one after that was The Complete Guide to Fasting, international best-selling status and Wall Street Journal bestseller. And it was a top 10 Amazon bestseller. I think it hit number 7. And I was like, holy crap. You can do things that once seemed impossible, but you got to persist and pursue and prevent yourself from having those negative thoughts. It's helpful. It's really helpful. She63 says, one Thanksgiving meal didn't with part of the family, stayed carnivore. Oh, great. I'm glad you were able to stay carnivore with it all. Yeah, I know some people had their Thanksgiving like over this past weekend because everybody's got to work or whatever, Thanksgiving Day. The girl I'm currently dating and seeing, she's a pediatric nurse, and so she has to work in the hospital on Thanksgiving Day. And then over the weekend, they're going to have their Thanksgiving next weekend. So yeah, everybody's got their thing, how they do the holidays. Keto to Carnivore Mama on staycation this week. You are inspiring me to get my health coaching website up and running this week. Keep doing you, Jimmy. Thank you for that. And yes, do it. I'm amazed how many people have a dream to do what you're doing. And I talk to them often. Several of the followers of my walk and talk have reached out and said, hey, can you help me? And I've talked to them on the phone and given them some pointers about how to price and how to make it pop and a little bit of marketing stuff. And I'm just amazed how many of them, I'm like, why have you held off? And it's all this idea of they just think it's impossible for them. And so I'm glad that a few words out of my mouth are inspiring you. And I will personally invite you to DM me, Keto to Carnivore Mama. If you have any questions, I would be happy to help be a part of your success. I'm a pay it forward kind of guy. Not everybody who gets successful likes to pay it forward, but I feel like it's imperative. If you've had success, you should be a part of other people trying to succeed too. I don't like this cutthroat mentality of, oh, there'll be competition. Yeah, I don't really see it a whole lot in the keto and carnivore space, thankfully. But there are pockets of it, and I'm just like, gross. Yo, Get out of my face. Don't tolerate that. Bulletproof Coconut says, some people take niacin for saunas, but I wonder how it would pair with cold. Yeah, I'm not going to do anything willy-nilly. And because of those rashes, I'm not really worried because they're not painful. Now, if they were very painful, I'd be consulting a lot more intensely about things I could do to mitigate it. I just think it's the body detoxifying, and I want that. Look, I've been doing this sabbatical for 83 days now, and I think we always want things to be moving along a lot faster, a lot more dramatic than they are, and I've been very happy. If nothing else, all these walks, my cardiovascular health has been phenomenal, because this walk is just amazing. Which, by the way, I bought some knee pads, not because I had any specific knee issues. I'd occasionally have my knee buckle on me a little bit. I have somewhat pain going up steps at my house, but I thought it could just add a little more support, so I got these knee pads on today that I ordered online. I love them. So I got my good shoes, I got my good knee pads. I'm ready to roll. Come at me, bro. All right, I'm at the halfway point. Turning around right here. Lady Lixel says, while waiting for a hip replacement, I did not think that I could walk for a solid hour. I began slowly and I got stronger. Yes. And that's a great example. Thank you, Lady Lixel. When I first started this walk, it seemed impossible for me to get this far down this trail when I first started. And when I first started, I turned around at those electrical box things up there, and that's way back. And so this seemed impossible on day one, but you work your way up to it. You're not throwing caution to the wind and demanding that you be at this high level. When I first started the One Step Deeper podcast with Brittany was the same way. She said, I'm not as good as you. I'm like, how are you going to be as good as me? I've been doing this forever. I've been doing it for over a decade and a half. Why would you expect to be as good as me? Well, that's the bar, and I have to reach for that high bar. And I'm like, okay, or just be as good as you can be. And I have had nobody complain about her not being a good podcaster. She's a phenomenal podcaster. Some days run circles around me on that podcast with the way she's able to think on her feet and everything. She's been great. And now we're writing a book together, and it was the same thing. How are you running circles around me writing? I'm supposed to be the established writer, but she's just bringing her A+ game. And what she thought was impossible, she's now realizing was not only not impossible, but incredibly possible, to the point that she's going to be a successful author here soon too. And I couldn't be more proud, because she was willing to put in the effort, believe in herself, and know that she'll get better and better the more she does it. And I'm already talking to her about doing a solo book after we write our book together. She will get the bug, you guys. And I couldn't be more proud. I'm just curious, do you use a selfie stick? No, it's called a long ass arm. I use God's selfie stick. My hand. I hold it pretty steady, don't I? Not bad, right? I'm impressed how you walk, talk. I would have tripped multiple times. Trust me, when I'm not looking right at the camera, I'm looking down. And part of the reason I look down is this trail. There's a lot of people that walk their dogs on the trail, and they don't clean up the poo. And so I have to avoid stepping in shit. So I'm not ignoring you if I'm looking away from the camera. I'm looking down to make sure, okay, don't step in any shit, Jimmy. That would be gross. I'll get back and my cats will be like, but yes, thank you. I've gotten good at this, holding it. My arm gets a little tired and I just switch hands and loosen up the arm. It's fun. I don't mind. Cassandra says, the only way we grow is through the struggle and the discomfort. Yes, that is so right. And I've talked about this many times too. Think about if everything you did worked in your life. Think about if there was no struggle, if there was nothing that seemed impossible. How would you appreciate those things that you accomplish? I argue you wouldn't. I argue you would have an expectation that things would work out, because they always do. It's in those moments where things don't work out, where you're devastated and you feel like, oh my gosh, why did I even try? And if you don't let your mind spiral down that death hole, because it can, but if you're like, you know what, that wasn't it, but I'm not giving up. I'm going to keep pursuing. And then you hit. There is no greater feeling than to know you put in effort and you failed, but then you put in effort again and you succeeded wildly beyond your imagination, doing the impossible thing. Yes, I wish I could bottle that up and just let people taste a little bit of that, because I've seen it over and over again in my own life. And it's sweet. Bulletproof Coconut, you've made it when you are thankful for your struggles and the lessons learned. Yes. Sometimes you might not be thankful for the struggles, but you do value those lessons learned. But having a thankful heart, which is very apropos this Thanksgiving week, having that thankful heart, grateful for the blessings, and yes, looking at the struggles in your life as blessings because you learned something from them. Part of the issue is sometimes people go through struggles, but then they wallow in the struggle and they don't learn anything. And if you're that kind of person, shift your mind over to what can I learn from any given situation? And you may be devastated in the moment. You may be like, there's no redeeming value out of this struggle I've been through. None. You might think that. You might fool yourself into believing that. I don't believe that at all. I think every struggle comes with a lesson that helps you pursue the impossible the next time. It's only a matter of, are you paying attention? Are you learning that lesson? Are you waiting on the right timing? You go through all that, eventually it comes. Good morning, guys. And so there's a lesson there to always have eyes wide open with an expectation you're going to learn something, good, bad, or ugly, from any situation you're in. I love it, says Keto to Carnivore Mama. It's a journey. Life is a marathon, not a sprint. Yeah. And there will be times you'll sprint when you're enjoying the fruits of the labor that you put in. But then there's times to bask in it a little bit, relish that you accomplished something that maybe once seemed impossible. But then, yes, right back in the marathon again. And sometimes you need a rest. Sometimes on this journey towards impossible and doing the impossible things, you'll sprint a little. You'll stop and rest a little. But most of it is just steady going down the road of doing all the things. And it's that steadiness that gets you there. I've seen it again and again in my career and in other parts of my life. It's pretty cool when you recognize it. Good morning, David. Thanks for being here. Bulletproof Coconut, paying it back is one of the most generous things you can do. I have been that way most of my life. I've been a giver. Sometimes people take advantage of givers. I don't care. My heart's right. I give with intention, with purpose, and with a genuine heart to help. If I didn't have all those things, then I don't know who I would be. It's just the core of who I am as a man. Berkeley says, have to hop off. Will watch the remainder on the rerun. Happy Thanksgiving. Yes. Enjoy your holiday this week, you guys. Sharon says, you're so inspiring. Thank you, Sharon. Your presence here, not just you, Sharon, but everyone's presence here means the world to me. I really do love talking to you guys and all the people watching on replay. It's very gratifying to know that this is helping you in some ways in your life. That's all I wanted when I started doing these, was to just help people. Better to struggle early on than later on in life. So it's good to be grateful for early struggles. Yes. And most of us have that experience in our lives where we struggled early. Some of us were also placed with more difficulties early. I've talked very extensively about my childhood trauma and being beaten as a teenager. That did not do me a lot of favors in the moment. And I look back on that experience now and go, yeah, I hate it happened, but I love who I am today. And I'm not a fan of, well, I'm better because of my trauma. Yeah, screw that. I didn't need a parent to beat the shit out of me every day. That really sucked. And I still have ramifications of that even to this day. But I didn't let that experience break me. And perhaps that experience did propel me in the direction of having a kinder heart towards people and becoming a lot of the things that I am now. But I will not give credit to that man who chose to strike me when he should have been loving me and nurturing me. Nope. I remember when I was in grad school getting my master's degree. I was 21 years old, and I was in one of my classes. I got a master's degree in public policy, by the way. One of my professors, I forget what the exact topic was, but it was something about how it's rare that people end up in grad school. And he pointed at me and he said, look at Jimmy. He's 21. He's the first person in his family to ever go to college. And he graduated college at 20. And now he's sitting in grad school at 21. He has overcome things and done impossible things that nobody in his family ever imagined anybody would accomplish. He shocked me that day because I was like, wait, what? You talking about me? What? But he was right, and it really struck me that what I was doing, while incredibly difficult, was something that was seemingly impossible. And yet I graduated from that university. I struggled early with some of the course load, but I ended with graduating and getting my degree. And my mama was so proud. What's funny is I had broke my wrist the week before graduation, so in all my graduation photos from grad school, I had a cast on my arm. I remember that. But it seemed impossible until it wasn't impossible. Kira says the impossible doesn't have to be crazy. Simple things like get off of medications, run up the stairs, etc. Exactly. I think people think impossible are these things that are just so crazy. Well, like the ice bath. Let me go back to that. People are like, that's crazy, that's impossible. I'm like, why? Just because you can't do that right now doesn't mean you can't work your way to that. We psych ourselves out. Stop doing that. How much of life are you missing out on because you think things are impossible? I think if we truly reflected on a lot of our life, we would look back and go, how stupid was I? How stupid was I to think things were impossible? I remember having a crush on a girl in high school, and I thought it was impossible that she would ever say yes. And of course, mind you, I was still being beaten at home, so that probably played a role in this, but I never took that chance to ask her out. I didn't, because I thought it was impossible. I had fooled myself into believing that. Now, my brain today, I'd be all like, hey, baby. So, would not have hesitated with my brain today, but then I had that mindset of impossible, and it just paralyzed me. We do that a lot more than I think any of us want to admit. So start to evaluate those things that you think are impossible. And I would say do some of those things that you think are impossible. Because it's in the doing that you might learn something about yourself, and you might realize what you thought was impossible is indeed possible now. Thank you, Jacob. Says, good work. Linda says, with my drop foot, I never thought I could do the Jimmy walks. And here I am, 82 out of 83 days later and going strong. That is incredible. Linda, kudos to you, sweetie. Standing taller, have more than doubled my steps. Impossible became possible. You are making me proud today. Yes. I've been amazed by how many people have been inspired to start walking because I'm just doing a simple walk on Instagram Live. Let's see, what else can I do to make you guys follow me again? Just kidding. Just kidding. That is awesome though, Linda. Keto Vorability says, love all of this. Thank you. I think we need hopeful messages. I'm not about pessimism. I'm not about discouraging people. I'm all about lifting them up and empowering them, not through any strength of mine, empowering them with thoughts that they themselves have. You probably know that you can do the things that you think are impossible. You probably know that. Deep down inside, you know it. It just takes someone that you love and trust here to tell you that. And then you're like, oh yeah, I believe that. So I'm happy to serve that purpose. I think karma is real in that if you're generous, it will be rewarded to you in the future. I agree with that. I don't think it's any mistake that I've been able to write 9 books and working on my 10th. Most people don't even write 1 book. I'm able to keep writing books because people have seen how generous I am and they want to help me keep being generous. Generosity does beget more generosity and more success. And so you're right. I have lived that out. And when I started making really good money, right after Keto Clarity took off, I would regularly just slip money into people's hands and say, I know you need this. Go take care of your need. And it wasn't to do anything other than to say, I care enough about you. And I've been where you are. I don't want to see you stay where you are. Go and be better. And then they're always like, how can I pay you back? And I always say, don't pay me back. Pay it forward to the next person that needs help. And if we all do that, and a lot of people do, that's definitely not a Jimmy exclusive thing. There's a lot of people who are very generous. And I think we all have that ability within us. Keto Vorability, thanks for starting my day the right way. Glad on my way to work today I found this on Instagram. Well, thank you for being here. Never seen you here before, so I'm glad you checked it out. You can see all the past episodes. Just put in hashtag StayBatical250, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and then on my website, livinglavidalowcarb.com/staybatical. we put all these videos as well. We'll find you more in the morning? Are you always on at a certain time? So it's a little bit predicated on the light here in South Carolina. Like today, it's a little bit darker because of the overcast sky, but generally speaking, I go live when the sun comes up here in South Carolina, which lately has been around 7:45-ish. So that's Monday through Friday when I go live. And I sometimes take rest days. So if I don't show up on a given morning, I usually put it on my stories. Hey, I'm taking a rest day. There will be no walk and talk. So if I'm not resting, then I'm going to be here. And then on the weekends, I tend to go a little bit later, somewhere around like 10 to 11, something like that. Because I got to go to the farmer's market on Saturdays and other such stuff. So yes, this is something I'm going to keep going even after the 100 days of the stay-batical are over. Day 83, if you just joined in, by the way. TikTok getting down to the last little bit of this thing. And I thoroughly enjoyed talking to you guys. Bulletproof says, your childhood trauma is hard to hear. That was pure abuse. Has your father ever paid a price? Well, my dad is in his early 70s now. He has been physically going downhill. And look, my mindset about him has changed a lot over the years. I used to fear him in my teens and 20s. I looked over my shoulder a lot all through my 20s, thinking he was going to come kill me. I was that seriously terrified. Then in my 30s, I started to heal, and I started to try to open back up to him. I didn't go see him for 10 years after I left the house because, like I said, I was fearful of him. And then I tried to play the game of forgiveness and letting him back in. And he would show glimpses of humanity, but then he would fall right back into some of the same patterns of being ugly towards me. Not physically hitting me, because I would have sent his ass to jail so fast as an adult. But something didn't seem quite right. Then I went away on sabbatical 2 years ago, and some revelations about my trauma came out that my mom did not know about, where my mom didn't realize I was being beaten when I was a teen. She had no idea until 2 years ago. And then I come back from the sabbatical March of last year, and I start talking about childhood trauma very openly. I had a lot come out in the midst of that time away, and I had a lot to say. Well, my dad almost immediately calls my mom and says, oh, our son is lying about me. I never touched the boy. And that mom already knew everything. And she basically told him go to hell and hung up on him. But he had not called in 12 years, called her, so they don't get along very well. Anyway, I had to cut off my dad completely because he refuses to acknowledge what he did. Like what you did, you did. Like, just don't deny it, right? But then I started learning more about his history. And guess what happened to him when he was a kid? He had the shit beat out of him by a very alcoholic father who was a slave driver and beat him and his little brother to a pulp. And his dad also beat up on my grandma. And so I get he was merely mimicking what he saw. And he was a very young father. He was 21 when I came into the world. And so even when I started becoming a teen, he was still only in his 30s. And he had a lot of anger still from his trauma. So I had a bit of a heart at that point that, okay, he lived a tough life. But look, if you've been through trauma like I did, you got to deal with your shit. And to this day, he's in his early 70s. He's had heart attacks and quintuple heart bypass surgery and shoulder surgeries and back surgery. The man is a ticking time bomb, and he's showing signs of cognitive decline. He doesn't even remember what he did at this point. So no, to answer your question, he has not really paid a price, but in a way, yeah, he has. Self-inflicted. The price he pays now is he could have averted all of this conflict had he acknowledged, number one, his own trauma and gotten help for it. And then number two, sincerely apologize and realize he messed up. If all he would have had to do was say, Jimmy, I put you through hell and I'm really sorry. I didn't realize at the time I had unresolved conflict about what my own dad did to me, that I didn't realize I was doing the same thing to you. He thought he was doing better because he didn't drink. He was actually a cop, and he was actually a business owner and a respected member of society. And meanwhile, behind the scenes, he's beating the shit out of his kid. And it was willingly beating me because I have a younger brother who's a half brother. He never touched the half brother. He just touched me. So he knew what he was doing. It was conscious. And maybe it was a little bit lashing out at my mom because they divorced when I was very young. I don't know what it was. I looked a lot like my mom when I was a kid. I look a lot more like my dad now. But when I was a kid, I looked a lot like my mom. So maybe when he saw me, he said, okay, that's his mom. I can beat him. I can't beat her, so I can beat him as a surrogate. I don't know. All I know is no, he has not really paid a price other than he doesn't have access to his oldest son who has gone on to be a bigger business success than he was. That's where I'm at. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of moving parts to this. She 6 Illa, I think that's Sheila, or 63. She 63 Illa. I think it's Sheila, but just done creatively. I like it. When I first saw you, reminded me so much, and you still do, of my late brother. He passed away 15 years ago of a brain tumor. Oh, sorry to hear that. He talked like you, walked like you, thought like you. It's amazing. Maybe you're his angel here for me. Well, hey, I'll serve that purpose for you. If I remind you of this loved one, your late brother, great. I love that. Love all your work. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you, Sheila. I appreciate that. Del Norte, thanks for the badge. And again, if you guys like what I do here, the messages I share, there is a little badge thing down there. You can just buy a badge. And yeah, every little bit helps. I love coming on here and we'll talk away. I have been given the gift of gab, so I'm very happy to spread the love. Will your next book discuss your childhood? I feel like there are so many people out there who need to see someone like you who has succeeded despite the abuse. So many abused stay traumatized. Yeah. So the next one is called One Step Deeper Journal. And we get into some mindset things that they do incorporate some parts of it. But one of the things that Brittany and I have thought about with this One Step Deeper Journal is that it's the first of a series. And so one of the book titles for future topics in the series is One Step Deeper for Childhood Trauma, or even just for general trauma. So yes, we're already thinking down the road that would be something that both of us, because she also went through childhood trauma. She got sexually abused and physically abused too. So down the road, Bulletproof, it's coming. I don't know why some people repeat their abuse while others like yourself would never repeat it because you know how horrible it is. No excuses for your dad. Sorry you went through that. Yeah. Actually, had I had kids in my 20s, and I'm being totally honest, and I've said this in many interviews, had I had children of my own in my 20s, I would have beat them. And it seems so weird. But look what happened to my dad. He went through that and he hated it in the midst of it. But what happened when he had his own kids? He beat them, or beat select ones of those kids. And so I'm not going to say I would be virtuous and not beat my kids had I had kids in my 20s. I think I would have. Now I'm about to turn 50. And if I'm blessed to have kids with someone someday. I know at this point it's impossible. It would not happen. If anything, it would be the exact opposite. That kid, those kids would get so much love and nurturing because I have learned and I have healed and I have put in the hours upon hours with a therapist to help. I just wish my dad had done that. It would have saved him so much quality of life issues. I think a lot of the physical pain that he felt in his life, shoulder surgeries, back surgeries, mental health drugs, heart attacks, quintuple heart bypass, all those things were a direct result of him not dealing with his trauma. Whereas if he had dealt with it, maybe those physical manifestations wouldn't have happened. I can't imagine the burden of holding all that in for decades. Holding that stuff in had to do such immense damage. And who knows, maybe he felt guilt about beating me. I don't know. He never talks about it. Nobody ever talks about it in families, do they? Talk that shit out. Get it out. Because it destroys families, destroys relationships. That all you got to do is talk and show contrition. That's all it would take. Some people take their trauma out on others through emotional ways. Yes. I feel like some people cancel friends because of their trauma. Oh, yeah. There's a lot of stuff that is caused by the trauma in people's lives. And I hate it. That's why I talk about trauma so openly. Try to help people deal with their trauma. Go get help with your trauma. You feel unfulfilled in your life. That's trauma, guys. If you feel like you can't do certain things that they seem so impossible, some of that might be trauma. This got dark towards the end, so sorry about that for all of you watching that. Whoa, I thought we were talking about doing impossible things, and now we're talking about trauma. It's all tied, though. I think it's all related. But if you came in late, day 83 of my sabbatical to 50, been on this 100-day journey, coming to a close here shortly after the holiday. December the 10th is the last day. And then I'm done with the official challenge. But I'll probably keep up the walk and talks. I may take some time off during the holiday season and then come back in January with walk and talks. Maybe start a podcast with Walk and Talk podcast with Jimmy Moore. Stay tuned with that one, you guys. But pop over to my website, livinlavitalowcarb.com/staybatical. See all the past videos there. You can also look up the hashtag, and I did this morning on YouTube. But YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, look up hashtag staybatical250. And you'll see all the videos there as well. So thank you so much for watching. It's always a pleasure to commiserate with you guys here on Instagram Live. And we'll see you guys again real soon. Bye, guys.